Let me ask you this question.
Uh-huh.
Do you feel that commercial brokerage in general is ripe for disruption?
Yes.
Yeah, crazy. The opportunity's so wild. I freaking been smelling it for years.
But I'm curious as to why you think it's ripe for disruption.
Because, and I also think that residential real estate is totally ripe for disruption also because but let's talk about commercial for a second. Commercial real estate is running like a good old boys club from 1923.
Not really.
Most guys in the commercial space, you may or may not agree. Are we rolling right now? Yeah. Good. Most guys in the commercial space, you may or may not agree. There's very few of you. Like, you're sharp. I've talked to you. I know that you're sharp.
Oh,
That's
why
you're here.
Appreciate that.
Most guys in the commercial space
Yeah.
that I've come into contact with are just salesmen. They don't know shit about commercial real estate. You and Mr. Delisle, one of the few people who really know your shit.
Love that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I have my master's from NYU. I got my CCIM.
What is the CCIM and what is the process to get it?
Really, this is a tough one. All right, it's a certified commercial investment member.
Okay.
Only 6% of all commercial real estate professionals, owners, developers, anyone has a CCIM. Now, you have to, for me as a commercial real estate broker, I had to have a certain amount of deals that I've sold. I can't remember how many deals it was. Maybe, I've sold hundreds and hundreds. I'm way past 500. Maybe I'm into 600 or 700 deals. I'm pretty old.
How long have you been in the business for?
Almost 27 years right now. This is my 27th, 28th year, something like that. It wasn't my first job. They asked me, I worked in a Haagen-Dazs, but more importantly, I really learned how to become a salesman on Wall Street.
Okay.
In the 80s, Warren Buffett said there's only two ways a young man can make $500,000 a year. You can sell drugs or you can work on Wall Street. Every single one of my friends went to work on Wall Street.
Where'd you grow up?
Plainview, Long Island.
Oh, really? So you're like a lifelong Long Islander.
Pretty much. I went to American University. I lived in D.C. for 4 years, and I lived in Manhattan for many years. But other than that, yes, I am. My kids call me Mr. Long Island.
Nice. How has it changed?
Long Island, how has it changed?
In the last 60 years of your life. It's always interesting to get people's perspective because a lot has gone on in the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, when I grew up in Plainview, that was as far east as anyone could imagine. That was the end of the universe. I mean...
Now Greg lives in the end of the universe.
I grew up and there were literally farms around my house.
That is wild. That's why I asked, because that was real and it wasn't that long ago.
No. We moved in 1968, and I can remember my brother coming home and saying that we used to play on the farms. We used to run around on the farms. Definitely. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, talk about commercial real estate. Commercial real estate, very difficult business, not for the faint of heart. It's way different than residential in my opinion. I have a lot of residential agents on
Okay.
here. So residential, it's all emotional. Someone's buying a house they're going to live in.
That's right.
Commercial, totally different animal, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's dollars, it's cents, it's not emotional.
Right.
Lead times on residential, much less. You get something on the contract, it can close 30 days or less. People are looking to buy a house, it's bang, bang, bang. Commercial, when you get into it, very difficult.
Yeah.
You could go 6, 12, 18 months without making any money when you first get into it.
That's right. No, yeah, I started in the mid-'90s, and my learning curve, one of the first buildings I sold was in West Babylon, and that particular deal, I remember it taking 9 months. Yeah. 9 months. Or since I started, the first year, you really and truly, I don't know how to explain it to people, but it's such a good investment. It's like going to school. The first year, you're learning. They say you're going to hear a lot of percentages out of me. They say in your first year that you learn 90% of everything that you need to know in your first year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. You find that to be true? Because you've been doing this for a long time.
I have been doing it for a long time. And I think we're in a really tough market right now. Velocity is way down.
Yeah.
really velocity in my marketplace, or has the lowest it's ever been was 2009, where only 1.3% of all properties have sold. I think in 2017, we reached 4.3%. Okay, so the average is 2.6%. On average, 5% of all buildings list per year, 2.5% sell.
This is across all asset classes.
This is across all asset classes.
Give me that stat again.
Sure. Each year, roughly, on average, 5%, 1 out of 20 properties, commercial properties in our marketplace, Nassau and Suffolk counties, gets listed.
Got it.
2.6%, just a touch above half, is the median average velocity per year.
Interesting. I'm actually surprised at how many properties don't sell. I didn't think it would be. So you're basically spoken half move, half don't.
Right. 20%, 1 out of 5 properties get listed. 2.5%, 2.6% sell every year, 1 out of 40 properties. The worst it's ever been was 2000. I think it was 2000. I just said it. 2007 or 2009. It was 1.4%, and right now the highest it's ever been was 4.3%. I haven't seen this year's numbers, but I can promise you we're probably well below 2%.
Yeah.
Things are interest rates are high. It's really difficult to do deals.
And I wonder if residential and commercial run parallel in that respect.
Interest rate driven.
Yeah, I mean, last year in 2023, nationwide was the lowest volume in 30 years for residential real estate.
Exactly. So is residential real estate interest rate driven?
Yes.
Is commercial real estate interest rate driven?
Yes. So
it is. It's cap rate driven.
Yes. So I guess it's kind of like yes. It's kind of like yes
it is cap
and
rate.
no,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. So, today is September 11th, 2024.
Oh, yeah.
Man, today's September 11th, 2024. And the Federal Reserve says that they will likely lower interest rates this month, as much as 0.5 point.
I mean, they have been saying that for a year.
That's true.
Do you think they're going to do it?
Yes.
What do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's enough to impact the commercial market? It's definitely, I mean, residential market, that lights a fire.
Okay. What does lights a fire mean? As you know, I'm a percentage guy. Okay. Let's just say that we, right now, where are rates? Deals, I do a lot of seller financing deals right now. I'm selling a lot of vacant buildings. Yep. A lot of the income producing properties are on the sidelines. And it always amazes. I'm going to tell you something I think is going to be the most important fact that I leave here today with. Vacancy rates across all asset classes in Suffolk County, 4.5%.
Which is, for those of you who don't know, that's low.
Nassau County, 3.5%.
Which across all asset classes. We're talking office, retail, doesn't matter.
Industrial.
Very low. That's low.
Near zero.
That is low.
Long Island is one of the greatest economies in America.
Hell yes.
People don't sell their commercial assets on Long Island because they're cash flowing. Yep. The tenants are paying. So when people say, why is this such a good, such a tough market to buy in, nobody's selling. Yeah. It's a great, great place to invest.
And there's no land and you can't build anything else. You have to create land. You have to find something, knock something down, or get creative. And that's why I always tell people, I was like, listen, Long Island, New York is like another country to begin with, but so is Long Island. Because when bad things happen in the world, we don't feel it the same way here. We're really insulated a lot. We're very, very, very lucky that way. When rates really ticked up and went from 3.5% to 7%, 7.5%.
Okay, where are rates right now?
Rates right now just came down like under 7. Let's say they're like about 6.5, 6.75%.
Yeah, that's where we are in commercial too.
7% rates is like 7% is a game changer. Anything under 7, you have market velocity. Once you cross 7%,
Right.
the residential market greatly slows down.
Okay. So right now we're at 6.5, 6.75, and we're going to see rate drops. Let's just say we see in the next 6 months a full point. We go from 6.5, 6.75, 5.5, 5.75. In the next 12 months, we see that. All right, that's conservative. Just bear with me. What happens to the price? What happens to valuations in residential real estate?
Like,
Come on, give me percentages.
you could be anywhere, and I'm shooting from the hip here, right?
Okay, of course, because we don't have, this is not calibrated.
5%, 6% increase, which is wild. It was already freaking crazy to begin with. And that's why a lot of people have been preaching, hey, everyone's like, oh, I'm going to wait for rates to come down. Like,
Right.
when rates come down, fucking prices are going up.
That's right.
You might as well buy now.
That's right.
And then refinance later.
Actually, the truth of the matter is, though, we're talking about a half a point or a point. Let's get crazy. Say it's, a point and a half, 2 points, okay, over the next year, over the next 18 months.
Yeah.
So I think right now is a great time to be buying real estate.
Absolutely.
Commercial, residential, and I think that, built in, we have pent-up demand. We have a stock market which is completely exhausted and wrung out of profits. Commercial, residential real estate has at least 15% profits built into them over the near term.
Plus tax benefits, plus everything else. So, question for you, right? Because rates went from 3.5%. Like, I have a bunch of commercial properties that I refinanced.
Right.
3.5%.
Right.
You get these people that have triple net properties.
Right.
And they have 5-year paper or 7-year
Right.
paper, whatever it is. And all of a sudden now it's 7%.
Right.
What do rates have to come down to in order for people to be able to trade those assets?
Well, okay. Again, I sell shopping centers and I sell office buildings, and so let's just say the lowest velocity is 1.4%. Okay, highest velocity is 4.3%. Now, a guy in my marketplace that I know well, and truthfully, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. Bob Knackle says we are going to be seeing 5%. 10% of all properties listed. 5% of all properties sell in the next 12 months.
10% of all properties listed.
5% of all properties sell. He says this is the greatest pent-up demand. He says that, as soon as interest rates start to drop, we are going to see activity. Now, the truth of the matter is these have been very, very slow years for most commercial real estate brokers.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear that, and I believe it to be true. I think we're going to see a lot of activity, and I think we're going to see a lot of appreciation in residential and commercial real estate here on Long Island.
So, do you think that's because there's just a ton of people that want to sell that were stuck because of rates, and then once rates come down, it's going to just unlock all of that?
Yes.
How much do you think rates have to come down in the commercial? Or forget about the triple net stuff because that's different. But just in general, how much do you think rates have to come down to really start to unlock a lot of those assets?
I would say, listen, I believe that we're going to see 100 to 200 basis points. If we're at 6.5, 6.75, we see 100 to 200 basis points in the next 24 months.
Okay. Let me ask you another question, right? Because again, it's hard because we live in Long Island.
Right.
And I don't know how much you travel. I don't travel enough to be able to be like, you know what, I've seen all of middle America to understand what kind of situation they're in.
Me neither.
Do you think it's a good idea for them to drop rates?
Do I think it's a good idea to drop rates right now?
Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a good idea for them to drop rates right now for the country?
I think it's long overdue.
You think so?
Yeah.
My fear, and you tell me if you think I'm off on this, is I just think it's going to dump gasoline on the inflation fire. And stuff is already so insanely overpriced that's my only fear. My only fear is that it's just going to get worse.
Well, now you're taking me to an area I'm about to have some fun with you with. This is great. This is great. Now, I don't know if this is going to make it on, make it there. But what happened was, and this is not political, we got hit with a pandemic. Mm-hmm. Okay, the first president that was part of the pandemic was Donald Trump. And what he had done and what the Federal Reserve had done was print money. Okay, so we took our money supply, I believe, from 15 trillion to 21 trillion under both administrations, both under Trump and under Biden. So what happened? Basically, in the span of like 24 months, we took the entire amount of printed money in American history and added 30% more.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's my point.
That is your point. Listen, the Federal Reserve, founded in 1933 to assure we didn't have a depression, did their job. Okay? People didn't work. Yeah, they were printing money. Yes. And there were stimulus left and right and stimulus, and there was money being printed, and it definitely kept us out of a recession and perhaps a depression. Okay, so, right. So now, to stop your fear of runaway inflation, they raise interest rates to cool the economy, to slow things down. You're not going to do as much business if it costs more money to buy, to borrow money. That's how you stop the American economy. You raise interest rates. But it's long overdue.
But what do you think is happening? We still have all that money. They didn't, originally they said, people are going to get this money. Well, I guess, listen, everyone's a Monday morning quarterback. So I think they gave too much and they kept giving for too long, but everyone's a Monday morning quarterback, right? At the time, it was a disaster. I don't disagree with the original stimulus. I just think it was too much for too long.
Is it okay if I agree with you?
Yeah, of course.
I agree with
you can disagree with me too.
No, I 100% agree, and that's where we are today. So where we are specifically in commercial real estate, and I don't know the numbers in residential real estate, but I do know them. Here we are in a marketplace where velocity is, I think we were down 50% from 22 to 23. We're down another 50% from 23 to 24. I mean, this marketplace really is completely brought to its knees.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. But let me ask you this question, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know a lot of the players in the commercial world. I know all the players in the residential world. Are the players in the commercial world that were always doing a lot of business, are they still doing a lot of business?
When
it
you say
be less, but still doing a lot of business by normal broker standards.
Okay, so I want to separate this. Most owners I speak to, particularly as we sit here today, September 11th.
Property owners or broker owners?
Property owners.
Got it.
Are on the sidelines. There's just too many variables with interest rates being so high. The presidential election, quite frankly, has a lot of people very concerned which direction that we're going to go in.
Yeah.
So I've never seen as many people paralyzed as they are now. And I don't know if that's true in residential, because in residential, a lot of times you have to move.
See, residential is, like when you're just dealing with people that are buying houses to live in, it is all driven by emotion.
Okay.
So it's a totally different animal. I'm curious to know, since you're exceptional with data, and you may or may not know the answer to this. What in 2023? How many buildings were traded? Do you know? I know it on the residential side. I don't know on the commercial side.
I don't know it on the commercial side.
Like people
I do know vacancy rates. I know. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I learned this stat recently. So in residential real estate last year, people like realtors are complaining. Residential realtors are like, there's no volume. And I'm like, okay. Almost 24,000 houses were sold on Long Island last year. And while that is let's say, for the country, 30-year low.
30-year low.
As a country as a whole, transactions were down 30.
Right.
We're at a 30-year low. I don't know if that was the same for Long Island, but Long Island had 24,000 transactions done last year.
Right.
Housing stock is a million properties, right? That's still a lot of transactions.
You think so? Listen, everything happens in my world from goal number one, and then I work backwards.
Okay.
January 1st, I have one goal. That's it. Let's make this one thing happen. Myself and my office need to sell 20 commercial properties here on Long Island.
Okay.
20. The average size deal I sell is $2 million. It's $40 million worth of real estate. That's my goal.
Okay.
If we sell 10, it's like you said. So it's really, okay, so when you say 30, how many houses sold?
24,000.
24,000.
And then there's two sides to that transaction.
Oh, I know. There's a buyer and a seller.
Right.
No, I understand. In commercial real estate, a lot of times we do a lot more seller representation of both sides.
Yeah.
Because it's such an intricate asset. Usually the listing broker knows it inside and out, and you just want to speak to the guy with the answers.
So let me ask you this question.
Uh-huh.
Do you feel that commercial brokerage in general is ripe for disruption?
Yes.
Yeah, crazy. The opportunity is so wild. I freaking been smelling it for years.
But I'm curious as to why you think it's ripe for disruption.
Because, I also think that residential real estate is totally ripe for disruption also because but let's talk about commercial for a second. Commercial real estate is running like a good old boys club from 1923.
Not really.
Let me explain to you why I think that.
Let me explain to you why after you explain to me.
Got it. Okay. There is a lot of people a lot of information is held close to the vest in commercial. In my opinion, the reason why, I know a lot of commercial brokers, they tell me why that is. Because they'll give me an example.
Spill it.
Yeah, we're going to spill it all.
Spill it all.
We're amongst friends. They say to me, okay, I don't want to let everybody know what the leasing term is and all that, because then they're going to try, when the lease comes up, they're going to try to poach my tenant. I'm like, bro, that doesn't make sense. Northwell just put, $2 million worth of TI into this building. They're not just going to get up and leave. It doesn't work that way. I'm like, you're handicapping yourself. You know why? You only do business in this one little microcosm or within this one little asset class because the data is not available for you to be able to quickly look it up, realize, analyze, and do business. So while you think you're saving your business, you're actually handicapping yourself. Not only that, you're handicapping me. You know why? Because if I'm a developer who wants to go out there and decide that he wants to check out different opportunities and build in different asset classes and areas, I am not going to feel comfortable spending millions of dollars on a project where I don't have a robust amount of quality data. So the entire commercial industry keeping the data to themselves close to the vest is hurting them and everybody in the ecosystem, in my opinion.
Right. I agree with that. However, as soon as I got into this business in the 90s, as soon as my feeling was the people in the office, they were all keeping their information to themselves, making quiet phone calls. My attitude was, let's work together.
Yes.
We're going to collaborate. It's always been collaboration. Now, most commercial real estate brokers, just so you know, they don't co-broke their deals.
Because they want to keep all the commission. 1,000%.
Right. I differentiate myself really and truly because my ethics are such that I honestly believe that I got to do whatever it takes, if you're my client, to be your representative and to kick ass.
Yeah.
And to get you the absolute best deal on the absolute best terms. And then my job is to advertise it. I've always been kind of good at marketing, I think, because I was a club promoter in college. Like a college club promoter. And, all right, maybe after college I did it for many years. I just quit. No, I'm just joking.
I got a gig on Saturday night. Come to, 123 Main Street on Friday.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, exactly right. So, I'm very good at, the self-promotion. So, yeah, my attitude was always, we surpass the marketplace, price per square foot, cap rates by 20%, 30%, 40%. I co-broke all my deals every time to anybody who can outproduce me.
Which is amazing, which is why you've been in the business for 27 years, which is why you consistently sell or attempt to sell and probably exceed $40 million worth of sales every year, because that's how
this year.
Well,
this year, like you said, it's a 30-year low.
It's tough.
I think that we are in a 30-year low right now.
I believe it.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think we're going to start to rock it back as soon as they dial down rates. But yeah, that's the thing. I believe what you believe. Collaboration gets more business. It helps everybody. When you operate from an abundance mentality, you do more business. Everybody does.
I've always had that.
So
I've always understood that.
So that's why. Like, I think that that's one of the main reasons why I think commercial real estate is ripe for disruption. I think things need to be shared. Also, you are one of the few, like, you have the data, you know what's going on. Mm-hmm. Most commercial agents that I have come into contact with personally know nothing about commercial real estate. Even the big guys that are selling a lot, they don't know anything about commercial real estate.
Yeah,
they don't know how to comp. They don't know they don't know anything.
Yeah.
And that's a problem too, because when you're doing residential, you should always know your craft, in my opinion. You should be a student of the game and you should know your craft.
You got to enjoy it.
Residential is one thing. Commercial, like, if you don't understand, like, you went to NYU, so we get each other.
Yeah.
When I was in the NYU Master's program, there was a lot of brokers in there. And I'm like, this makes sense. Because if you're really going to sling properties like that, you have to understand zoning, development, air rights, cap rates amongst asset classes, you know, that type, how the market's trending. You have to.
A few of the game changers for me was, where did you grow up on Long Island?
Wantaw.
I grew up in Plainview. You go to Mulcahy's?
Of course, Monday nights, out of the weeds. I got the card and everything.
John's a good friend of mine. I sold a few buildings for John. So yeah, I love going to Mulcahy's, and I do get VIP treatment there because I am the commercial real estate broker for the owner, John Murray Jr. Cool guy, good guy. You know, I think that my dad was a life insurance salesman, and I think the thing really that defined me the most in life is that I'm dyslexic. I really, 1 out of 6 people really can't read very well.
Really?
Yeah, I really can't read very well. And in 1960s, you know, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, people just didn't know you couldn't read. They just thought you were dumb.
Wow.
They just thought you were dumb. You know, they just thought you were dumb. So I've always had trouble reading, and I think it's from that vantage that I became a people person, that I became in touch with other skills, because I still really struggle to read.
I mean, ironically, and I think it's relevant at this moment to bring it up, you wrote a book.
Yeah, nothing gives me greater pride than the fact that I've written a book. I think the book is amazing. If I had it to do all over again, I don't think I could do a better job of Power Broker, how to be successful in business and life. I'm 60. I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. I have 2 sons that are really young.
See, Amanda, I'm 44. He didn't have a kid until he was 50. I got plenty of time, and so do you. Sorry, that was a little tidbit from my girlfriend.
I understand.
She says I'm getting old. I don't think so. She's 31. She's 31. She's got plenty of time.
When I met, I was 15 years age difference from my ex-wife, and let me tell you something. If someone said to me, what's the coolest thing you ever did, was, you know, making the first $1 million, closing the first $25 million deal, having a kid, getting married, having a kid.
Yeah?
Having a kid.
You have boys or girls?
2 boys.
Really? Is there any secret? Because I really don't want girls. I mean, you went 2 for 2.
Yeah, is there any secret?
You got to know something.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I truthfully, man, this is one thing: you get what you get, and you got no regrets. I wanted to have a girl, definitely. You know, I wanted. You know, I quite honestly think, you know, you get
what you get.
You get what you get.
It's a roll of
man.
the dice.
Yeah, it's a roll of the dice. I don't want to have girls.
Nah. So tell me about the book. I want to hear about it. You sent
Sure.
me one. Literally, I got it like an hour ago. I saw a package and I'm like, I know this gentleman. He's coming in to be on the podcast.
That's right. That's how you do it. Right. A lot of my competitors were writing books. Mm-hmm. And they wrote books that I think, you know, how to buy real estate, the ins and outs. They wrote books, I think, for 1% of the people.
Okay.
You know, people that are buying commercial real estate, how to go about best buying it. They wrote books, what they know best, sharing the absolute best secrets that they know.
Okay.
Now, I came from this dyslexic world where I felt left out. And it was the first book my dad ever gave me that I got on tape. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yeah. And this guy said, listen, 85% of your success is going to come from your ability to deal with other human beings. And I was like, why would I focus on anything else than 85% of the pie? You know? And I think that drove me to be an active listener. I think that drove me to a lot of skills that I still use to this day. So this book, I wanted to speak to, because things are happening so fast and they're moving so far away from interpersonal skills. 76% of Gen Z people, Gen X, or one of these gens, but between 1995 and 2005, or 1990 and 2010, 76% have phone anxiety to pick up the phone.
It's crazy. I see there's 13.
No, I mean, does that mean that somebody literally goes on an app to book a reservation rather than call up and say, hey, listen, I need a 7 o'clock reservation?
Yes.
Wow.
No, so I'm 44, my girlfriend's 31. So she's obviously much younger in that. She will have full-blown arguments via texting. I'm like, you talk to people.
That's right.
And sometimes it's hard for me to relate because it's a totally different generation.
All right, let's talk about statistics. Let's talk about communication. Let's break it down. What is communication? The FBI did a study on communication, and they said 55% of communication is body language.
Yes.
Facial expressions.
Yeah, and then tonality and all that.
Tonality, 38%.
Yep. I think it was 7% is nonverbal.
7% is the message. So we're communicating right now. Enthusiastic, it's fun, it's funny, it's all good, right?
Yep.
You're accepting of this environment, I'm accepting of this environment. We're getting to know each other. We're communicating because we're here in person. Now, if you remove your body, all you're left with is a telephone. Tonality and your message.
Yep.
Still pretty good. We can still get a lot across without that 55%. We're left with 45%.
That's interesting. I never heard it broken down this way. I always heard it was only 7% of communication is verbal.
38% is tonality.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. There was when I was growing up, there was a link between heart attacks, frustration, and people yelling on phones. They were losing 55% of their ability to communicate. They were literally having heart attacks.
Wow.
Okay. Have you ever heard of a guy texting a girl to marry him? No.
I mean, it probably happens more often than you think now.
Probably now. But the point is, listen, if something's important, show up.
Yes.
Give yourself give yourself the biggest piece of that 100% pie for your tonality, your body language, and of course the message. All right. So here we are in 2024. How many text messages do you think the average person sends a day?
I can't even freaking imagine. It's got to be 100?
At my age, it's like 58 to 60 or something like that. Sending and receiving.
At their age?
Every age group that goes down, it just doubles.
Really?
At their age, yeah, they're like 130 text messages a day. You're in your 20s. Yeah, I mean, you're in your 20s. So there's 120, 140 text messages a day.
Wow.
Yeah. So what is happening? We're getting further and further away from interpersonal skills. Enter power broker. First, we need to understand that. 11,000 people are injured while walking and texting every year. I mean,
what about driving?
Right.
I can't imagine.
Those statistics aren't there yet, but so we're getting further and further away from the skills that I believe are the 85% of human engineering that it takes to be successful.
So what happens?
So what happens is I wrote this book to outreach to it's basically a book to Drew and Chase. And, what it's about is the key ingredients. Yeah, Drew and Chase, yeah. The key ingredients to be successful, okay? We speak about public speaking, okay? When we think about leadership, we think of someone standing in front of a group of people and commanding respect. Do you know there's something called glossophobia? Have you ever heard this term, glossophobia?
No, what is it?
Okay. We've all heard that it's scarier to speak in public than it is death.
Okay.
Okay? There's a good reason for that. There's a good reason for that. It's called glossophobia. Okay? The fear was, and this goes back thousands and thousands of years, that you would speak. It would be so embarrassing that you'd be literally ostracized from the group, left to fend on your own from rabid wolves. You were going to be so embarrassed, you're going to be kicked out of the group. So that is what holds you back. And it's been there for thousands and thousands of years, and the only way through it is to practice.
Yeah.
The only way through it is to practice. You practice, you practice. Your mind doesn't know that you're not in front of an audience. You practice, you practice, you do it. Public speaking is huge. The book talks about, a lot of these communication skills. Listen, if I had high school to do all over again, the absolute most important thing I would take is debate class. Yeah. What are we really doing in business? We're listening. We're understanding someone else's point of view. We're not punching them in the head and saying, I'm right, you're wrong. We're saying, hey, listen, I've listened to your ideas. I want you to listen to my ideas. I want you to weigh the facts, and you tell me, you be the judge and jury. Do you think with interest rates dropping, business is going to get better?
Yeah. It's interesting because, so you grew up in the golden age of sales. I feel that sales is a lost art that is pretty much dead. Everything now is more like branding, brand building, social media, okay. Personally, I think to be really good, you need both. That's kind of what I think. I think you need to know how to sell, and you need to be able to build a brand to bring people in. That's my opinion.
2019, 20% of Americans pre-pandemic filed for 1099 non-employee tax returns. Okay? 2027 Department of Labor comes out and says we anticipate 50% of all Americans are going to file non-employee.
That's
self-employed 1099 tax returns.
That's wild.
Okay. So now we have 4,000 American universities. How many of those universities teach you how to sell? 90. There are 90. There are 90 classes. 90. It's 4,000 universities. No one's going to... How much the sales represent of the whole pie? 37%. 37% of the pie is going out and making the sale.
Yeah, nobody knows how to do it.
I was in a podcast like this. It wasn't in person. It was via Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman, I said the same thing to her, and I watched her over Zoom basically break down. She says, I don't know how to sell.
Nobody does.
I own my own business, and I don't know how to sell. Her name was Erica, and I said, Erica, what do you do? She said, I was taught to be kind, so I just be kind.
No.
So she says to me, can you give me a few tips? So I swear, it was so organic. I just said, sure, okay. Listen, when you ask someone for the order, okay, I'd like to move forward, I'd like you to sign the contract, and I'd like you to give me 30 to 60 days, to work with you, it counts for one ask. She goes, yeah, it's really hard to ask. I said, you better get used to this, because I want you to know 80% of all sales happen after the fourth ask. So get used to the fact that ask is a warm-up. There better be at least 3 more coming, and there should be probably 8 to 9 asks. You know what her next question to me was? How often can I ask? So I just was like, hey, listen, you can't get weird with people. You call a guy, you ask him for the business, he thinks about it. Don't get weird. Yeah, give him 2-3 days. Call him back and say, listen, have you given it some thought? Don't get weird. But no one knows how to sell. And I'm hoping that, quite frankly, my book and others will, help other people learn how to do this important skill.
It's very, very hard. It's interesting. I'm very lucky because before this, I owned a Mako Body Shop franchise in Hempstead for 10 years. And my dad's partner was an old school salesman who sold Electrolux vacuum cleaners door to door in the 70s. And he taught me the legit art of old school sales, like Zig Ziglar, Tommy Hopkins,
Right.
alternate choice, clothes, yes mood, like you name
Right.
it, all
That's right.
that stuff that is basically dead that I never hear. And at the time I fought him, I was like, I don't want to be a salesman. I felt it had like a sleazy kind of undertone about it.
That's part of the stigma of this great craft, is that it's manipulative, it's shifty, it's getting people to do things that they don't want to do.
So
Not at
wrong,
all.
though.
It's just so wrong.
As I got older and got more mature, I realized being an amazing salesman is nothing more than being a very effective communicator.
What does communication mean to you?
If you are able to relay your point and your views in a way that people understand, that inspire them to take action, you have done your job. Because any great salesman believes in his or her product, or you shouldn't be selling it. Right? If you are an ethical salesperson, you believe in your product. So if you don't do a great job of relaying the features and benefits of your product, then you did everybody a disservice.
That's
you did
right.
the seller, the buyer, and yourself.
There's some properties I just can't take on. I just can't take them on.
Well, because you don't believe in them.
I just don't believe them.
Listen, yeah, same thing. Some properties I'm just like, this thing's a piece of shit. I don't want it at any
it's not
number.
that. It has a price, but we're asking 3 times the price. I just.
That's also a time waster too. Everybody.
It's a time waster.
It's a money waster.
It's a money waster. Listen, the bottom line is everything that I do as a commercial real estate broker is based off one document. And it's the one document everybody skips. I do broker price opinions, broker opinion of values.
BPOs.
BPOs.
Yeah.
I get the assignment. We do a 44-page broker price opinion.
Okay.
My whole beginning part is to get the information so I have it all. Everything about a property. All income, all expenses, every zoning, everything you could possibly want goes into my BPO. Then we really pull comps. We spend a lot of time pulling the best comps on CoStar. Then I meet with the people and say, listen, here are the comps. Okay? These are the comps, right? These are really competitive. I like that one, I don't like that. Fine. Where do you want to price it? Based upon the comps. Based upon industry standards of what things are selling for per square foot, industry standards of what things are selling for cap rate. So we price it together, and from there, I spent a lot of time on that broker price opinion explaining these are the 60 companies I've co-broked with. Okay? I'm going to share with everybody. These are the places I'm going to put your listing. I'm going to tell you I'm putting on premium listings. At this point, 87.5% of all commercial property sales start online.
Yeah.
Like 97 or 99% of all residential ones do.
Yeah. No,
Also.
it makes sense.
Okay.
And that's another area in regards to commercial where the marketing can really stand out. Like I've dealt with other lesser commercial agents and I've said to them, how are you marketing this property? And like, well, I just, I have my contact list and I just send out email blasts. But you send out email blasts.
That's 1982, baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, what do you
That's
mean? You send,
1982.
it's like the email blasts. What do you mean? And that's what they do. So again, kind of to circle back, that's another reason why I feel like commercial is ripe for disruption. But that's why all commercial agents are not created equal.
I wish I didn't have to say this, but I say it so often, I'm just not. The bottom line is, listen, if I get the assignment, it's going to be a premium listing on LoopNet, CoStar, Crexy. I think that when they see my packages, they know they're inclusive, they're always correct, or we're going to correct it right away. So there's a lot of confidence that when my package on a property listing comes through, that it's going to be correct, it's credible, and you can get me on my cell phone and we can make a deal.
Let me take.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just got to
worries.
interrupt you because what you just said is such a big deal. That's 90% of it. Like if you and I went upstairs and I called 10 commercial brokers about a property, I get a call back from 3. None of them answer their phone, and I get a call back from 3. So the fact that you do that is 90% of the battle.
Yeah,
the fact that you pick up the phone is 90% of the battle.
Yeah, in the drive here, I got 3 calls from people I don't know. 2 were brokers, 1 was a buyer, about specifics of properties that, quite frankly, the square footages, lease expirations, that's too specific. While driving, I don't have it.
No,
but
at least you pick up your phone and say, "I'll call you back later."
Oh yeah, no problem. I want, it all starts, like I said, from one focus: sell 20 deals.
40 million gross.
Get them out. That listing comes in. Let's talk about the highlights. Let's tell everybody why it's an exciting features. I take 10 exciting features. I'm a copy and paste guy. Copy and paste. I want everything templated. I don't want to come up with anything new. No creating the wheel on this on this Wednesday.
No, listen, it makes sense. So, what would you say to people that are in commercial real estate right now who are struggling, and people that are in residential real estate sales and want to get involved in commercial sales but don't know where to begin and how to go down that path?
Sure. If you're struggling in 2024 in residential or commercial sales, I want to let you know, so am I.
You're not the only one.
You're not the only one. That's the first thing. Velocity is so far down. But if you're in commercial real estate and you set a goal, don't give yourself any excuses. Business is still being done.
Yep.
If it's half of the velocity or 30% of the velocity, be the person that gets the greatest share of the marketplace. If you want to get into commercial real estate, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. And what I mean by just do it is get a listing, ask questions. What do you mean there are 14 tenants in this shopping center? What do you mean there's a lease start date? What do you mean there's a lease end date? What do you mean there's a rent? What do you mean that there's escalations in the rent? How long is the lease? Get in, get going, get curious.
Yeah.
Just get curious.
Be a student of the game.
But more importantly, don't be held back. Just do it. I see a lot of people sell shopping centers who don't know much about it, and they learn.
Yeah.
So, just do it. Don't be scared to say, I don't know, but I can go back to my office and get that answer for you.
And most people are okay with that.
Get back to them, though.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. If you get back to them.
Get back to them. So I would say if someone wants to come into commercial real estate, I think, I don't know anything about residential real estate. I've never sold a home. Quite honestly, that area of the marketplace is much bigger. Residential is much bigger than commercial. I like commercial. Like you said, it's not an emotional, it's not an emotional purchase. It's very cap rate driven. It's very dollar per square foot rate driven. I think it's the greatest business. I do. I think it's the greatest way to make a living. I do.
I concur. So, Ron, just so take a look at that camera right here as we wrap up. Anybody looking to buy or sell commercial real estate and be looking to get in touch with you, how do they reach out? How do they get in touch with you?
Sure, I understand. If anyone's looking to buy or sell commercial real estate on Long Island, please, I'm Ron Koenigsberg. Call my cell phone, 516-993-7252. Text me, call me, let me know what you're looking for. If you're thinking about selling, let's get together. Let's put together a complimentary property evaluation. Let's understand the value that you have. It might be a lot bigger than you thought. It might be, let's understand the comps, but, you don't get a second chance at this. There's no do-overs. Once you close and, the check's clear, you don't say, hey, listen, I really wish I didn't go with my cousin. I really wish I would have went with Ron Koenigsberg. That guy, does represent a big share of the marketplace. He has outperformed the market for the last 30 years, 27 years. So you don't get a second at bat. There's no do-overs. You know how when we were kids and we're like, I need a do-over?
I'm still a kid.
But you don't get the do-overs once
That's
you
true.
close. You understand?
No, that's true.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I'm still a kid too.
Ron, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming down. Charles, the handsome home buyer. You have a house that smells like cat pee or not. I don't care. You know I'm quick, I'm easy, I'm a good time. I want to buy it. 516-777 sold. That's a wrap.